Hello. It's Friday, so I'm going to talk about apologetics again. And the title of today's session is What are the practical implications of an atheistic worldview? It's more of a question, really. But there are certain implications, and there is an sort of an article that was written by an atheist, and although I think it's a very pessimistic, reductionist view of atheism, and not everybody thinks it this way, obviously, but at the same time, there is some truth to what he's saying, because a Christian will never think this way. He's never going to say things like that. So I think it's worth to have a sort of a short conversation about. So what he was saying, that there is no creator, the universe came into existence on its own. But the problem is that everything is a product of a sort of an accidental procedure. We are just products of a series of accidents. But it makes you wonder, though, if everything is a product of accident, life is, then your mind, the development of the human mind, is sort of a product of a series of accidents. But then how do you trust it? And I heard a sort of a mathematician slash philosopher of science asking this question, that if you're looking at the world from a purely materialistic perspective, if you're looking at the world as a product of a series of accidents, then how do you trust your assessment? How can you trust that your mind accurately represents reality? I think it's a fascinating question, to be honest, because if we came from God, and I heard it many times that the best explanation for God would be that God is a mind, because if time, space and matter did not exist before creation, God still had to exist. But if time, space didn't exist, then the best explanation is that he's a mind. He doesn't have any parts, if you will. And I think if we came from a mind, then you can trust your mind. But if we were developed by way of a procedure, I think it's really difficult to come to a truly satisfying answer, rather than saying, I accept it as an a priori thing, I accept it as truth. And I heard it said that it's a bit similar to Matrix, if you've seen the film. Whereas in the Matrix, people were in this machine and couldn't tell whether the reality they lived was in their mind or they actually lived that life. And it turns out they didn't. So people who were in the machine, they were in these pods, and they were imagining, or they had sort of visions about reality, but it wasn't true reality. So something like that. And again, if atheism is true, everything is a product of like a series of accidents. This is what this gentleman says. In concepts such as morality, politeness, being civilized, it seems that they exist according to this article, but the whole thing is just an illusion. It's just our extremely well-developed brain imagine these things because it allowed for the better development of life. And all of our dreams, our loves, our ideas, our desires, they are all just figments of our primordial imagination. That's the phrase the guy uses. But if everything, even our ideas, are just a figment of our primordial imagination, I wonder if his opinion, his idea that everything is just a figment of our imagination is a figment of his imagination. You have to be careful here when you're making claims like that. That if somebody can turn the claim on itself, then it's a self-defeating claim, because it doesn't pass its own criteria. And it's talking about that this whole thing, all these things, such as our love and our ideas, the whole thing is just electrical impulse in our brains that serve their purpose in the past, serve their purpose in the past. They got us here, and that's it. And I've read this something similar before, that I think Nietzsche said it as well, not exactly about electrical impulse in our brain, but he was talking about how society purposefully developed these things, having being loving, having morality, having being civilized, because it helped society develop better, help people to live better, to develop better. I'm not sure I agree with him, but many don't. All of your achievements, the article continues, all your plans regarding the future, they are from your primordial brain again, which is a product of a chemical reaction. But I'm going to stop here. But I think the problem with pure materialism is, and to look at atheism in such a reductionist way, is you don't live like that. You don't think that morality, love, being civility, acting in a civilized manner is just a figment of your imagination, because you act upon those things. And although yes, they help society, it's too ingrained in us. And I heard others say that it's really difficult to say that it's a product of evolution, it's a product of an unguided, mindless process, because it's just so ingrained in every single society that it's really difficult to say that these are a product of naturalism, if you will. But the other thing is, how can you possibly explain beauty, logic? I don't think it's really possible to explain what makes something beautiful. What is the point of something to be beautiful? What is the point of you? What is the evolutionary purpose? And there are ideas, but the whole thing is that awe we get from seeing something beautiful. I read that people are having really a lot of trouble explaining it, or giving a plausible explanation, if you will. And the other thing is logic. Where does logic come from? And logic exists apart from humans. And although humans apply logic, but there are logical truths that would even be true if there were no humans in existence. So again, where does this come from? And there's a difference between recognizing something's existence and something existing. They're not the same categories. There is a category of existence, and there is another category of learning about something's existence, but they're not the same. Anyway, I'm going to continue next week about the implications of an atheistic worldview.